Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are joining me for the first time today. I feel like I should have started that intro with my hand covering this half of my face. I'm low-key embarrassed about it. This is the side of my contours that I do, and this is the side of my contours that you should not do. But anyways, if you do want to see how I've gone from this side to this side using the art of cream contouring, then please do keep on watching. So to be completely honest with you guys, I have not long been into cream contouring. To be honest, there was a period where I would never touch liquid products other than foundation and concealer. Oh, how things have changed in the last couple of years. I have become completely obsessed with liquid and cream bronzing, contouring. I physically cannot do my makeup now without cream bronzer or cream contouring. I really do feel like it is the way forward of contouring. It leaves you with such a natural looking skin glow. It's almost as though the products just melt into your skin and it looks like you've got natural contours, which I obviously do not have at all. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to jump right into this video because I'm really excited to film this. I know there is so many of you guys out there who are so terrified to even just try cream contouring. I know it can be scary, hence it took me so long to even start using cream products. However, I do hope that some of you guys want to follow along with this video. Potentially some of my tips and tricks could help you get over your fear of the cream contour. So personally, I always like to cream contour over the top of foundation. I know that again is a personal preference. I do know a lot of people who prefer to contour underneath their foundation and then put that over the top. Personally, for me, I don't really see the point because by the time you've blended out the foundation on top, all of the contour has sort of moved around your face anyway, so I rather do it on top. So for that reason, I am just going to go ahead and apply my primer and my foundation first, and then I'm going to come back with you when I am ready to contour. If anyone was curious, I'm going to be using the NYX Hydro Touch Primer and the Urban Decay Hydromaniac Stay Naked Tinted Moisturizer because I don't really like a thick coverage foundation at the minute, and this one is a really beautiful coverage. Okay, so there is my foundation applied. I'm well aware that I look like a big old grease ball underneath these lights right now. They're really not working out in my favor. I will be coming back to powdering my face a little bit later on, but for the minute I have literally just applied the foundation and the primer. No concealer, no powder, no nothing yet. I'm sure everyone is well aware of this, but it's ideal not to go in with powder before you use cream products because it's always just going to end up taking off the foundation underneath. Liquid on top of powder just doesn't really mesh well at all, so I recommend definitely working on top of a wet foundation and then setting it all in place with powder afterwards. So for anyone who's watching who is completely new to contouring and has no idea what the word contouring even means, the idea of contouring is essentially to add some definition to the structure of your natural cheekbones and your face. I'll pop a picture on screen that sort of explains it a little bit better, but basically the contours go in the natural contours of your face. So when you feel around your skin, you can feel where your bone structure naturally dips in, and that is where the contour goes. The opposite to contouring is of course highlighting, and that will go down the center of your face and all of the parts that you really want to lift. So the idea of contouring and highlighting basically contrasts the high and the low parts of your face. As you can see at the minute, my face looks very one-dimensional. It looks very flat. There's no structure whatsoever to it besides the greasy parts that are clearly glowing underneath these lights. So what I'm going to do first is go in with my highlights. So for this, I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. For anyone wondering, I use the shade 16N Fair Neutral. Of course, the first place that I like to go in with my concealer is underneath my eyes. This is purely just to hide my dark circles. I'm only going in the very inner corner of my under eye, and then I'm going to go underneath my winged liner over here too. This is going to create a nice lifted structure. If you go in and cake your under eyes completely with concealer, it's actually not going to give you a very nice lift to your face, and I feel like that is what you want out of makeup. Actually, do you know what I've decided to do? I'm going to do a side of do's and don'ts. There is no right or wrong to makeup, but my personal do's and don'ts. So one thing that everybody used to do back in the day, which I don't recommend doing now, is really caking your under eye with concealer. Does anyone remember the triangle shape like this? Not only does this make your makeup look extra cakey when you come to blending it out, but it also actually does no favors with lifting your face. It's going to end up making your face look a little bit more drooped, which some of you might like, but I'm going to guess that most of you don't want a droopy face. That's the reason that we only like to apply a little bit in the inner corner and then lift it right at the outer corner by our temples. That's going to create a really beautiful lift to your under under eye area. Other places to apply the highlight is to the chin, down the center of the nose, above the cupid's bow, and on our forehead. So essentially down the very, very center part of our face. This is where we want the face to be really lifted. Some people also like to apply it down their smile lines here, which I'm going to do just for effect, but I wouldn't normally do that if I'm just doing my everyday concealer. At this point, what I would normally do is blend out the concealer first and then go in with the contour, but just to show you sort of the overall shape of where we do and we don't want our contours, I'm going to go in with the contour first and then blend it all out afterwards. One of my absolute favorite products for cream contouring is the Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Light. One thing I will say when it comes to cream contouring is definitely make sure you're using the right colors for your skin tone. So as you can see, I am very, very naturally pale, and I would actually say that I think my skin is slightly on the yellow undertone as opposed to pink undertones. So for that reason, I like to use a really nice cool toned contour. If you have a darker complexion or you tan more easily than me, then I would definitely say you can get away with using a more warm toned contour color. But for me personally, I have to use things that are a little bit on the cool toned side, otherwise it just looks way too orange on my skin. For that reason, I am using the shade Light. This is literally my absolute dream contour shade. It's absolutely perfect for my skin. So I'm just going to take a little flat concealer brush to apply this, and I'm going to show you where I do apply it. If you're ever concerned about the placement of your contour, what I always suggest is going from the top of your ear and working down in a line towards your upper lip. Now this completely depends on your skin, your structure. Everyone's face shapes is completely different. For me personally, I don't really have a huge structure to my face already. As you can see, you can't really see my predominant cheekbone. So for this reason, I like to go in that sort of line, but when I'm applying it, I lift the product up. And a lot of people ask me why I do this, and the reason is because I want a really nice lifted cheek effect. With this contour, I'm also just going to go over the top side of my forehead down towards my temples as well, because we really want to give the illusion of a shrunken forehead. I also like to go in a sharp line underneath my jaw because that just helps to eliminate any double chins you might experience. Now I also like to apply it just down the very, very center of the bridge of the nose, and also underneath the tip a little bit too. As you can see, I've got a very naturally lifted little pig nose, so I don't really need to do this, but it's just a step that I've gotten used to. I also will sometimes apply a little bit of contour right underneath my lower lip. This just creates the illusion of a bigger sort of contoured lip shape when we come to blending it out. So moving on to the don't side, a lot of people will naturally say if you feel in your cheekbones, you can feel the structure of your cheek. If I were to follow along with that theory, my cheekbone is right down here, and I will show you in a little while why I don't contour down there and why I prefer to contour up here instead. This is where the natural contours of my skin feels, when you actually feel underneath your skin, and this is going to create a very, very, very droopy effect on my face. Over here on the don't side, I've also gone a little bit further out with my nose contour. I'm going to show you the effect that this gives to really contouring your nose. The reason you want it further in is to give much more of a snatched, thinner effect. So I'm just going to start with the highlights where I placed my concealer, and I'm just going to blend these out with the pointed part of my sponge. The reason I prefer to use a sponge over a brush for my concealer, again, it's a personal preference. I know a lot of people who prefer to use brushes, but I just really like using a damp beauty blender because it just blends really beautifully in with the rest of my foundation, and it just creates a very, very flawless looking effect. So there is my highlights all blended out. Now going in with the contours. You could also use a sponge to blend out your contours as well, which does work really well, but I personally prefer to use a dense brush. So I'm going to start over on my do side, and I'm just going to start by pushing the product up. I have spoken about this in a few of my Instagram lives and in a few videos previously, but the reason that I like to push the product up is again just to create a nice illusion of a lifted face. I'm also just pressing this in just to create a really nice seamless blend into the foundation and the concealer that we've already applied, and as you can see, that blends out just so beautifully. Going in under the jaw again, just buffing this in so it blends in nicely with the foundation, and then I'm going to drag this lightly down my neck as well, just so we don't have a really harsh line going on along the jawline. Same with the forehead. I'm just going to go by stamping and pushing this into my hairline. We don't want our hairline to be super visible with a contour all around it, so I'm just pushing it into my hairline a little bit so it blends out seamlessly. When it comes to my nose contour, I always like to take a tiny little concealer brush, and this is what I'm going to blend this out with. So I'm just going to start by very, very lightly going over it. Then what I'm going to do is go over the line and start dragging it down the edge of my nose. I personally prefer doing this because it creates a nice shadow down the edge of our nose, which just helps to really give that contoured shape. And if you don't feel like it's blended enough, then you can always just go in with your beauty blender and just tap over that until you're happy. So over here on this contour side, I'm going to show you how I would never blend out my contour, which is like this. Now this does work, don't get me wrong, it absolutely does work to blend it out, but also what you're doing when you're being aggressive with your blending is sometimes this technique can end up taking the foundation off from underneath, depending on obviously the products you're using. Some products work better than others, but generally I would say just be gentle blending it out, because you can end up taking off the foundation underneath, which is going to end up looking so patchy and horrible. Now with the nose contour, I'm just going to blend out where I've applied that product, and as you can see, it's not really doing a lot with my nose shape because I have applied it in the complete wrong place. So here is what my face is looking like so far. This is of course the side that I do with my contouring normally. As you can see, my cheekbone has got a little bit more dimension now, and it also looks very, very lifted. This side is my don't side. So this is where my sculpture normally would say to place my contour, which goes down from the ear down towards my lip, which goes downwards this way, and I just feel like it has added absolutely no structure to my face. So yeah, that's just a demonstration of why I always like to do my contour slightly more lifted. Again, that's completely up to your face shape. Some of you might have beautifully chiseled faces already, meaning you can do it a completely different way to me, but because I don't have much of a structure, I always like to take it up a little bit higher and just create my own shape really. So we've done our highlighting, we've done our contouring. Now I'm going to show you my favorite liquid blush, which has completely changed my life over the last few months. This is the NARS liquid blush in the shade Orgasm. So I always start by giving this product a little bit of a shake just to sort of make sure it's not separated, and then I'm just going to do one tiny little squirt on the back of my hand. Now that doesn't look like a lot, but that is more than enough product for what you need. The way I like to apply this is I like to take a beauty blender that's got a flat edge on the bottom of it, and I'm just going to pick up that blush on the bottom of the sponge, and then I'm just going to start to apply that to my cheeks. To be honest, I've forgotten how I wouldn't apply blush now. I'm so used to applying it, I don't really know how to apply it wrong over on this side, so I'm just going to sort of do it the same way I would on both. This honestly just adds the most beautiful subtle hint of colour to my cheeks. I have no idea how I used to do my makeup without blush. It actually baffles me. So the placement of where I like my blush is essentially all up my cheek. Again, I like to make sure it's lifted, so I take it from the apples of my cheeks, which you can normally find if you just give yourself a little bit of a smile. The apples of the cheeks is around here, the area that is currently glowing in the camera, and you always should start there, but what I like to do is just blend it up towards my temple as well. I really just feel like this just brings it in with the contour. Okay, so at this point you can see my face is completely dewy. We haven't set a single thing on my face, so I am looking extra glowy and wet right now. Now this isn't something I was planning on touching on in this video, but I recently watched one of Molly May's new Get Ready With Me videos, and she was trying to apply contour, and she kept touching on the fact that she didn't really know how to contour and that it always goes wrong. What she did was basically she went ahead and applied her powder bronzer straight over the top of her cream bronzer, and it went all patchy. When I tell you I was watching that video and screaming at my phone, you need to set your face, I was literally getting so furious watching it because I was thinking, I just wish I could talk through the phone and tell her. Needless to say, I'm going to tell you right now that at this point I do recommend setting your face. It doesn't have to be completely matte. If you're planning on going in on top of your cream products with some powdered products as well, you definitely should mattify it slightly before going on top. If you don't mattify it first, you're going to go on top with a cream product and it's going to come out so patchy. I'm just going to go in with my trusty Rimmel pressed powder. I'm going to take this on a big powder brush and I'm just going to very lightly start to set over this side of my face. Again, I'm really not applying too much product. I'm just very lightly brushing this powder over my skin, and you will see that luminosity of my face just starts to go away very lightly. Now you can definitely tell tell which side does have a little bit of powder on it and which side doesn't. I'm going to show you what happens if you do and if you don't mattify them first. So I'm going to start by taking a bronzer. This one is the NARS Laguna bronzer, and I'm taking this on my Morphe E4 trusty angled contour brush. So I'm just going to tap into the product. I'm mostly going over the edges of this brush because that is the part that's going to give us the nice chiseled contoured look, and then I'm just going to tap off some of the excess product on the component as well. Now when you're contouring using an angled brush, what you want to do is use the angle of the brush. So what I mean by that is I'm going to take the highest point of the brush up near my ear, and I'm just going to very lightly start to brush that product in tiny little circular motions, bringing it down towards my lip. And as you can see, that just really revives where I applied that cream contour initially. Now moving over to the unset side, I'm going to show you what happens if you A, pick up too much product, and B, if you apply it straight to a wet base. Really getting in there with that bronzer. Okay, well that is too much. That is a bit excessive, but you can see what I mean. It's just really getting stuck to the base, and it's just making everything look super, super muddy. This is me also just using the big side of the brush. So that's me using the flat side, whereas over here I was using the very, very edge of the angled brush. Again, no shape whatsoever, looking very, very muddy and just looking generally too much. I really hope you can see the difference between the sides right now, because it is quite astonishing how much of a difference this makes. Whilst we're on the topic of contouring, I'm just gonna go in again with a tiny, tiny little brush, and this is gonna be my nose contour brush. I don't know if this theory works for everyone's nose, but for my nose, I like to take my contour where the top of my nostril is and straight up my nose. That's sort of the shape that I like to go for when it comes to contouring there. So I just come in with a really tiny little fluffy brush. I've only got the tiniest amount of bronzer on there as well, and I'm just gonna go right down the very, very middle of the bridge of my nose. Now over on my don't side, I'm gonna show you if you go too wide on your nose, how much it can just widen the nose completely. Now my nose just has no structure whatsoever. It just looks like a big bridge down the center, whereas what we want to do is really snatch in that nose. This is actually really painful because my nose is my favorite feature, so making it look worse is just making me feel really uncomfortable. Okay, you guys, so this is the end of my contouring 101 video. To be honest, I'm sort of thinking back on what I've just said throughout this video, and I don't know if any of it has made sense. So please do let me know if you actually picked up anything from this video, because I have no idea what I've just said for the last hour. So this is the side of contouring that I do. Please ignore the leftover blush on my hand, but as you can see, it just looks really nice and natural. It adds a little bit of colour and a little bit of dimension to my cheekbone, which I definitely do not have naturally. And then over on this side, I think you can all tell the difference. It's very droopy, very muddy, and it's just too much. The contour is just way too much, and it's just everywhere. It's not concentrated into an area, it's just all over my cheek. Anyways, I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, then please make sure to leave a big thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and also subscribe to my channel. You can also find me over on my TikTok and my Instagram, which are both LSGMAKEUP. As always, feel free to leave more suggestions down in the comment box of what other videos you'd like to see on my channel. I'm always welcome to suggestions. I really hope that this video does encourage some of you to give cream contouring a go if you never have. Basically, my main tips is make sure you've got the right coloured contour. You don't want anything too cool if you have warm toned skin, and too warm if you have quite cool toned skin. Don't apply too much because it's never going to work out in your favour. Just apply a little bit to begin with, and you can always build it up if you need to. Always work with your cream products before adding any powder. If you do it the other way around, it's just going to take all of those cream products straight back off. Lightly set your base before you go back in with any other powdered products on top of the creams. Otherwise, it's just going to go super muddy and super patchy, and you're going to have way too much colour. And finally, just work with your face shape. If you feel like you need to lift your contour and create your own structure, then why not? That's what I do, and it definitely gives me a better look than it does over on this side. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video here because I feel like I've been rambling for ages, but I really hope you did enjoy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye!